Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending this session. So today I'm going to take you through an offering that we've been working on for the last 3 or so years at SAP, called HANA as a Service. So any SAP users in the audience? Anyone use SAP? Anyone use HANA? Wow, got a few of you. Okay, so I won't spend too much time here, but just to kind of start somewhere, is fundamentally, HANA is an all-in-one in-memory database platform, right? So fundamentally, to keep things nice and simple, the technology allows you to run real-time transactions and analytics on the same set of data by keeping all of the data in memory, right? So what that means is we don't have to do what normal database systems do by taking transactional data, copying it into an analytics store, and running your analytics in a different system, right? That's kind of a fundamental value proposition for HANA, is all of the data is in memory, it's accessible in real time, and you can then use that to develop a range of next generation applications, right? So at SAP, we develop our own applications on it, so we use our S4 technology, our ERPs, our CRM solutions, a number of different technologies now embed and is developed and based on SAP HANA, right? So fundamentally, if we think this through, is some of the benefits here would be high performance, obviously, it's in memory, a simplified application architecture and design. So this is quite often one of the more overlooked things when we look at in-memory databases. We expect this high impact performance kind of environment, but in a lot of times the benefit that application developers get by developing their own applications on HANA is the dramatic simplification of the data model and the data structures that you use, right? So in a regular normal database, you have to flatten out structures, you have to store data in rows and those kind of things, and you have to really optimize for different workloads. With HANA, that isn't necessarily the case. We get to market faster because of that. And then finally, we reduce the cost for the HANA environment. So, some of the other things worth understanding is that since HANA 2, we've introduced a number of different data processing engines. So we now, we include built-in analytic engines into the environment. We have a variety of NoSQL style data processing engines built into the environment. So graph, spatial, text, time series kind of functionality built into this thing. A set of predictive libraries, data science and machine learning libraries built into the technology as well. So fundamentally, right, is you look at HANA and you should see not just an in-memory database, but an in-memory application platform. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, about 6 months ago, for the first time, we introduced a new architecture for HANA that we deployed in the public cloud environments called SAP HANA Service, or formerly here, SAP Cloud Platform, SAP HANA Service. So now, HANA as a service is a lot easier to say, so we fundamentally stick to that, right? So, so just starting on the left here, just taking you through the wheel, some of the things that we felt were important to customers was the ability to do an instant provisioning of HANA systems. So if you've worked with HANA before, it's an appliance-based model. It's kind of difficult to get up and going on the on-premises side. And when we did our initial cloud deployments, we didn't really make any improvements into how that would work. So we thought that when we introduced the new offering, we wanted to be able to make it easy for you to click a button and the HANA system or your HANA system is provisioned dynamically in real time within 5 to 10 minutes. We knew we needed to invest in a new architecture for elastic scale. So we couldn't just take our on-premises HANA offering, deliver it on an AMI or an EC2 node, and just assume that it would scale with the infrastructure. We've had to make fundamental architectural changes to HANA to enable this, right? And to be 100% transparent, we're at the start of that journey, right? As we've introduced some options now that make it at least easier to scale elastically when it comes to pricing and provisioning and those kind of things, but we need to do a lot more work on scaling out and making sure that we can dynamically scale up and down, getting to the promise that is auto-scale. We introduced for the first time a consumption-based pricing model for HANA. So it is now possible to pay for HANA, metered on an hourly basis, chunked at 16 gig blocks of memory, right? So on the on-premises side and in our old HANA environment, it was always t-shirt sizes. So you had to make a decision. Do you want a 1 terabyte, a 2 terabyte, a 4 terabyte environment? Do you want a 64 gig environment? Now what you do is you purchase capacity and you get metered and billed per hour in the new service. And then finally, the service is fully managed by SAP. When I say fully managed, we invest a significant time of our development effort in automation and orchestration to make sure that when those systems get provisioned and gets fired up, that you don't have to do things like backing up, setting up HA, setting up HANA system replication, figuring out which availability zones you need to run these things, figuring out how to build a backup strategy. That's all done for you. So fundamentally, if you provision a HANA environment, you start developing, right? Is you don't worry about all of the other capabilities that's in there. So often the question then is, well, Rudy, tell me, what are customers really doing here, right? And fundamentally, we've seen in the first 6 months, we've seen that these 3 use cases are probably the most prominent ones, right? So one, application extensions. Application extensions fundamentally is a scenario where we leave the core ERP system as is, and we do all of the extensions of that ERP for business processes innovation in the cloud, right? So quite often those application extensions now run on the new HANA service. Intelligent agile applications to keep nice and simple, those would be brand new applications. So applications you build in the cloud using machine learning, using a bunch of different techniques and technologies. And then quite popular, quite often a customer's first HANA experience is on the my closer side here is agile data analytics, setting up agile data marts, right? And generally the conversation with customers go sort of this way is, hey, I have multiple ERPs deployed in my landscape, probably different versions, potentially from different vendors. Some of them could be SAP and more legacy things. I need a consolidated view of all of my ledger reporting. Or I need to consolidate data across my supply chain and do analytics and make that data available to my data scientists, my data science team. So I'd say about 80% of the projects we're getting right now are towards agile data analytics. Okay, so just going to spend a second on this. I said this easier. We have one pricing model with 2 consumption models. The service is available as a monthly subscription, and then available as an hourly-based model, right? So what's different to what you might be used to if you've deployed HANA before is that the 64 gig chunks go away, T-shirt sizes go away, and fundamentally now is you purchase capacity. And if you want to deploy with that capacity 50 HANA servers or 50 HANA instances, that's your prerogative. I said the wrong word. I said servers a while ago. What's interesting about this new service, and I'll demo that in a second, is we completely abstract infrastructure concepts away from you. So you don't have to worry about a HANA MDC or a HANA server. Fundamentally, you interact with a HANA endpoint. We provide a web endpoint for you to use. You connect your applications and APIs to that. Okay, so with that, I'm going to flip over to the demo side, and I'm going to start taking you through some of the HANA as a service functionalities. Now that's if this system of mine decides to log in again. Can we flip over to the demo? I was probably faster than he expected me to be. Okay, so what I'm not going to take you through is all of the nitty-gritty in setting up a HANA account or a SAP Cloud Platform account and take you through this. I'm going to go straight in and I'm just going to explain where we are, right? So what you're looking at now is the SAP our cockpit, our Cloud Platform environment. And I'm going to take you through one of the first things you'd have to do. So what you can see here is my account set up. I'm in an account called HAS, or HANA as a Service PM, Product Management. And in this environment, I've got 4 sub-accounts. Now, a sub-account is a way to divide concerns within an organization, right? So I can say I've got an HR organization, I've got potentially supply chain, and a data science group that want to use the solution. Now, and I'll show you some more of that in a second. And what you can see here is the consumption of the HANA service that I've had in my organization. So you can see there's a number of sub-accounts here, and I've got about 2,000 hours of usage and about a terabyte of storage across my different HANA instances, right? So this is kind of the first view. It gives you a perspective on the account setup. This is what a basic marketplace looks like. Now, from the way that the market, you shouldn't relate the marketplace to something like the AWS marketplace. This is kind of a service catalog for us. And what you can see here are the services that me as a developer here would have access to. So someone in the organization, an admin, decided that I'm part of the data science group or the development group. I should have the following services. I should have log management, a scheduler, I should have some Postgres, and right here at the bottom I can see the new HANA service, right? So if you click on that, and I've got the demo kind of staged up a little bit so that if things take too long, I'll just hop to a different place, right? So here you can see two plans here. So these are rate plans, a standard plan and an enterprise plan. So the enterprise plan includes all of the machine learning functionality, all of the embedded analytics, the data integration tooling, so the ability to take data out of S3, for example, and put it in HANA, or to kind of integrate your ERP system on premises to those environments. All of that's built into the Enterprise Edition, where the Standard Edition is fundamentally just an in-memory database environment that you could use to underpin your applications, right? So what I'll do now is I'll click on the instances link here. So what I've done here is I've already set up a Reinvent instance, but you know, because I'm brave, we're going to try and just provision one here in real time, right? So I've got the standard and enterprise plans. If I'm in a trial account, I would have been able to see free versions or trial instances of the environment as well. I'll hit next year. I'll set up a system password. Here's some of the first things you can see is we assign memory in blocks of 16 gig. So I'm going to do a 32 gig instance here. Some of the functionality here we'll get back into is some security functionality, and then I'm going to enable the built-in document store, and I'm going to deny all external IP addresses, right? Now, what denying or allowing the external IP addresses allow me to do is it opens up the service to any other service on the public internet, right? So anything that I build within my HANA service doesn't need to be whitelisted here. It's kind of the way that it works here. If I had any applications developed already, which I do, I can automatically now bind that instance to it, and we'll just call this instance demo123. How about that? Okay, so what this will do right now is it'll go and provision. I mean, it'll call a set of APIs now, and go to the native HANA as a service implementation in AWS. It will find one of our fleets of EC2 instances that are running, and it'll provision a HANA environment for you. And it will come back and give you the endpoint to deal with, right? So fundamentally now is just in the background, without anyone touching it, we provision, we ramp up our HANA environment, we make it ready for you to use, we enable the provisioning APIs, we enable the data integration capabilities. So once this is up and running, you should be able to use any of the tools that you used to, or some of the new tools that we've developed for HANA, right? So note that I haven't touched server concepts. I have no idea which kinds of machinery this runs in right now. That's all spelled out in the service level agreement. So you'll see this thing will be creating for a while, and because we don't want to wait for it, we'll just go to the one that I've already set up. So I've got this Reinvent environment, and for people who have used HANA before, I'm going to just start touring around and showing you some of the tools here, right? So in the same environment, I've got well, let me start somewhere else. Let me go back to this one. Let me open up a different interface here. So this service dashboard is pretty ugly, to be dead honest, and it's going to be refreshed by the end of the month. But this gives you a perspective of the deployed instance I have. So here you can see I'm running in the US East Region 1 in AWS. When I created it, my whitelist rules here. And you can see here by a simple click, if I wanted to enable an HA environment, all I need to do is click this pencil, hit the high availability button. What that'll do behind the scenes, it'll create an HA pair in a different availability zone, set up system replication, and now you've got a fully redundant copy of the HANA environment running. Right now, if you've ever done that, that's a serious pain in the backside, right? So it's not so we take care of that for you. On the right-hand side here, you can see two endpoints that we can connect to. You can see a SQL port, and then you can see the WebSocket connectivity here. So we have two ways that you can connect into the HANA environment. If you connect via SQL, we've made changes to the HANA built-in client software. So the traditional HANA client that you use now has functionality to securely connect to the HANA service. And then a new service that allows you to connect via a web proxy or WebSockets model. That means you go encrypted over HTTP directly into our data environment without setting up a reverse proxy or using a cloud connector or any of those kind of functionalities. We are looking at integrating and making a third endpoint available, which would be a private link endpoint, and hopefully we'll see that pretty soon. Okay, so that's the cockpit. Regular tooling, if you wanted to administer the environment and see what's running on it. You have the HANA Cockpit tooling that allows you to do everything from monitor performance. You won't see backup, right? Backups are done automatically for you, so you don't have to worry about that. This kind of allows you to see alerts and notifications and monitor things. If you were so inclined, you could look at the SQL, connect directly to it. The database is running here. I can see a set of tables here. Then for the more developer-oriented folks, built into the tooling is a Eclipse based Web IDE. So you can start developing with this environment without installing anything on your environment. So no HANA Studio, no Eclipse tooling. Everything is hosted, available for you to use when you provision the service. So here, as an example, I've taken this GitHub sample project. I cloned it into the Web IDE. And what you can see here is a simple Node.js application that will connect to the HANA environment, right? Now, if you're familiar with the way that these things work, here in this HTTP module, you can see that I've got a bunch of CSV files. I've got some structures here. And when I hit the build functionality here, it'll basically go and build, from this design time environment, go and build a container on that HANA environment with my entire application ready to run. Now, a lot of the application work here is low code, it's not no code. You can obviously do what you need to do. If you need to build a Python application, feel free, go do that. You can see here it's building at the bottom. It should be done fairly shortly. And once that's developed and built, I can go right into, and I'll give it a second to do that. Well, it's like a typical baking show. I do have one in the oven here, right? So let's just move across to the other one. The moment I build that, I'll refresh that environment. I'll go to that table, the tables there again that I had. Some of the CSV files that I just showed you there would have automatically been loaded into the database here. So, you know, kind of what you expected, I guess, right? And then that application, that Node.js application, then runs directly wherever on the endpoints that we've set up before. Now, this is all great. So what I've shown you is how, when you use all of SAP tooling, how you can use this fairly easily. So the question is, well, what if we wanted to do something else, right? And what I did here is just quickly connected a Python notebook or Python notebook directly to that same HANA service, right? So here, we prepared and seeded the environment a little bit with some dummy data from Kaggle. So went to Kaggle, got a data set, uploaded into the HANA environment, and here is regular Python code connecting to the HANA environment, firing off a SQL statement. You can see it's about 1 million rows of data that it needs to deal with here, and simply generating a pie chart, right? So if I had to kind of sum that up quickly, is what you saw is us connecting into the HANA environment from an EC2 environment. Hang on, I can show you that too. That probably would have made some sense. So ramped up a T2 micro, put on a Python notebook, connected from an EC2 node into that same HANA instance that I was running, so it's open, it's available to access, connected via the WebSocket environment, so I didn't have to whitelist any more additional IP addresses, and simply connected those things. So very useful if you have a team of folks who are data scientists and don't have any familiarity with SAP tools and want to use whatever they want to use to develop that. Okay, so we've covered that. Well, so data provisioning is done through our technology called Smart Data Integration, which is an ELT tool. So it allows you to connect to remote sources and push data into the HANA environment. That's all built in, right? So you don't have to go and deploy another server or another instance. This is all built into the service as well. For the SAP folks out there, you can use your existing system SLT tool, SAP Landscape Transformation, to do that too. And you can target any of the normal sources that you need in any case. Okay, so what can you do about that, right? So let's say, for example, you were interested and intrigued and you said, cool, I've got a HANA environment, It's run by SAP, fully managed. I can provision it. It's up and running within 5 minutes. What could you do with that? And we decided with AWS to launch a competition. So you can pre-register for this competition by going to that URL, so the SAP AWS App Challenge. So you can register there, and the idea behind this competition is that you develop something innovative with a combination of SAP and AWS technology, right? There's some goodies over there, and one of the prizes would be tickets for you and your team to go to Sapphire and present this to a bunch of other SAP customers and partners. Okay. So with that, I want to start wrapping up. Thank you for your time today. I hope I've given you at least a taste of what it's like to run SAP HANA as a service. I hope that you understand that it's at least the first version of the technology now. We're about 6 months in, but we've already got about 1,000 customers on the service already. So it's starting to grow quite nicely, and we're starting to see some pretty interesting applications coming out of that. Okay. With that, I want to thank you, and I'm going to wrap up. If there's any questions, I'll be over at the side of someone.